Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transcend with M, Know Her Story. And today we have Josie Lopez with us. Hi, Josie, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you, Monica, for the
Yes,
invitation.
we are really, really excited to have you. You are in another country and you have been traveling lately. You are the owner of Advancio, and I cannot wait for the world to know who you are. But most importantly, you are a huge advocate. And I will say, I was very surprised when I initially learned about you and all the things that you do silently. You're like a ninja. You are doing so many amazing things quietly and at the same time providing so many opportunities. And I think it's time for people to know who you are and know your story. So tell us a little bit of who you are.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a little bit of an introvert. That's why I don't do a lot of speaking engagements, and most of the philanthropic work that I do, it's silently because I don't feel very
Yeah.
comfortable around people. So I think that's an important thing to mention. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a happily married mother of four. Yes, that's a lot of children, and yes, it's very difficult to manage the two. I'm Hispanic. Um, um, I come from first. I'm the first generation Mexican American, so my parents actually are immigrants from Mexico. I'm first time college graduate, also from my family. So a lot of struggle there, right? So there's a lot of struggle happening all throughout my youth. Um, I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. It's a small suburb in LA County, predominantly Hispanic. So I grew up with people that looked like me, which is really great. But there's also a lot of need, um, because we all come from very modest means. So again, the
Yeah.
struggle, struggle, struggle. So um, I think that struggle really helped kind of give me an understanding or a perspective that is why I help so much. And that's why I have a hunger to help, because if I've been blessed, then I need to kind of give that back.
Right. Right. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit of that upbringing. What were the lessons learned and how did that determine who you are today?
Yeah, so again, I'm an introvert, so I was a 5-year-old looking at news. I would look at the president, I would look at the addresses. I really loved just information and kind of tinkering with things. And as a young child in a family of seven, so I had
Wow.
a lot of brothers and sisters. Um, it was tough, Sometimes we didn't have food to eat. Sometimes the light got cut off. Sometimes the gas got cut off. Um, eh, Old shoes, old clothes, having to make it look cool, like ripped jeans. It was the alternative 90s. So
Yeah.
Nirvana in the grunge area was really in. So, wearing ripped jeans and old shoes, it was cool. So it was a good, so of course I was grunge. And because of all of the modest means, I would say a really pivotal moment in my life was when I was in the 10th grade, about 14, 15 years old. Again, I'm a first-time college graduate, so my parents didn't have university. They didn't really see school as
Hmm.
something that was really important. I started working when I was 12,
Yeah.
illegally, literally at swap meets and so on and so forth. So
Wow.
they actually gave a little bit more emphasis or depth or weight on working and earning
Hmm.
money. So I would not go to school very much, and I had very poor grades. I was failing every single one of my classes, but I was working and I was providing for the family and I was helping out
Hmm.
in one way or another. And I had a really great teacher that basically pulled me aside and said, Josie, when you do come to school, it's really great essays that you write. Why are you failing every single one of your classes? And so that teacher was, I would say, I have to thank that teacher for me actually wanting to go to college and finishing and ultimately getting my master's
Hmm.
degree, because all of this education is really what's paved the way and allowed me to kind of be who I am today and own a company and know about financials and law and everything else. I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there that might not have a degree. I'm just saying that for me, it worked out really well because it really helped me
Yeah.
navigate through the business strategy and everything else that has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's everybody sees education in a very different perspective. But when you are coming from the upbringing, and I think for us Hispanics it's a little bit more difficult because we have to show that we are worthy of that specific job or that specific opportunity or whatever. For us, education is something that just helps jumpstart certain things that we might not be looked at, any other way. So that is really amazing. But I do agree with you. There is so many also entrepreneurs out there that don't need an education. They're just brilliant the way they are, but they might have other aspects of their lives that might help them get to where they are today that others don't have access to. And it's like everything, right? It's like
I mean, for
everybody.
me, I
Yeah.
just really liked academics. As I said, I was
Yeah.
a 5-year-old looking at the news. It was just something that I
Yeah.
liked, and because I didn't have people around me that valued that, I never saw it as important. And until that teacher
Hmm.
said, "No, it's okay for you to like this and want to go to
Yeah.
college." I said, "Really? And I could possibly do that? I can
Yeah.
do that, but that's so far away. It's so far, and I don't know
Right.
anybody who graduated." So, I mean, again, it's obviously I liked it, and it's something that I
Yeah.
gravitated towards, and he just facilitated that for others that don't feel very comfortable and like to self-learn. That's
Yeah.
okay too. I'm just saying that for me, it was something that I really liked and that I
Yeah.
wasn't doing because I just hadn't been exposed to it.
Yeah. The misinformation and miseducation can, and then, it's like,
Right.
it's like that moment where
Yeah.
like,
I mean, for me, it was just so foreign. I was like, I would only see that in movies that you go to university and you get a degree because I didn't know anybody
right.
in my circle that did it.
Right, right. And it's just like everything in life, right? Like whatever you don't grow up exposed to, sometimes we think it's just a dream or it's just impossible to achieve or it's just something that is not for you because you haven't experienced that specific thing that you haven't been exposed to. A great example of that is parents, let's say. There are people that grow up in households that don't have both parents, and doesn't have to be a mom and a dad, but like it could be a mom and a mom, a dad and a dad. It doesn't really matter. um, but they think sometimes growing up that they cannot be a good parent because they didn't have, they don't know what that means, or they think something's missing. So it's just something, it's just like everything, right? Like everything in life has a positive and an unexplored area. I don't like to call it negatives. I just those are areas that have been untapped. So you finish your
Yeah.
master degree.
Yeah, so I finished my master's degree. I did work all, I mean, I'm a worker. I'm a busy bee. So
Yeah,
since I was
yeah,
13, I was working in, in anything and everything that would help me along the way. So I never stopped working throughout college, whether it was my undergrad or my master's degree. I was always working. I loved working. That's something about me. I love working. I'm a
yeah,
busy bee. And at 27 years old, I had the opportunity to go out. I mean, I've been, again, entrepreneurship also has been, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like I had a lemonade stand by the time I was 9. I was
yeah,
selling little jewelry by the time I was 14. So it was like I would have the work that would pay, but I would always do some type of entrepreneurial thing on the side. And there was a lot of
mhm,
fails. There was a lot of
yeah,
things that didn't work out. But at 27, I had enough understanding of tech where I said, you know what, maybe I can do this on my own. Um,
yeah,
and I went out on my own, and that venture was successful, and that's what we know as Advancio now.
yeah,
But
yeah. So, how did you land it in tech? And how did that, how Advancio came to be? I guess that's a very interesting, because it's a predominantly male dominated industry.
yeah.
But you are very successful, and from going at not really um, even knowing that you were going to go to college and everything, to like landing on tech. Like that's a big gap right there. So
Yeah.
tell me the story. Tell me the story of how did that came to be.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm a business major. So my undergrad and my master's is in business. I didn't set out to be an engineer or be in tech. I all of my previous positions have been in business, and one of the positions that I had was director of operations. And in director of operations, you have your main job is to make sure that everything runs smoothly, right? And efficiently. And in today's companies, you can't do that without tech. It's really hard to do that without systems or without technology. So I had to learn. I had to learn the ins and outs of tech. Even in college, I was I was using Yahoo and dial-up, and I've always been very tech friendly. So my claim to fame when I was 25, and I had this very robust position. I mean, I was only 25 and I was already the director of operations, was because I would take a process, I would systemize that process, make it very, very efficient, and then I would work hand in hand with the IT team to automate it or to create systems around this new process that I would create. And I would just do that literally all day long. As director of operations, I would find inefficiencies, I would streamline the process, and I would automate it with IT. Now, I'm working alongside the IT team literally as a business analyst and as a project manager and giving them specifications and telling them what to do. And I started to fall in love with tech. I started to fall in love with what it could do. It was like magic. It was like Houdini. Wait a minute, what? I can build something and then all of a sudden something that takes 5 hours will take 2 seconds? How do you do that? Like, and that's really where the love came from for tech. The ability to take something and just poof, it's a non-issue anymore. And that's kind of how I got exposed to it. I fell in love with it. I started to do some of the stuff myself. I would say, hey, I want to help you guys with that. I actually learned a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of .NET. Can I help you guys? And I would go in there and I would start kind of tinkering, and I would break things sometimes. Um, and that's kind of where it starts. So I start falling in love with tech because I think it can do something magnificent. I see that it does something magnificent, and then I'm hooked.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. And it was just like hands-on experience, right? It wasn't just theoretical. So that's the best way to learn, because when you learn the business from an operational standpoint, then you understand what are the hurdles that you are going to face from a either customer facing or first user, or from a user standpoint, that then you can troubleshoot in order to avoid that from happening. So
Exactly.
that's pretty cool. So what is Advancio? Tell us a little bit about your company.
So basically, Advancio started as a service company that would basically enable companies to do what I would do for the operations company. So that's how it started. I said, you know what? I can be a consultant. I could go to other companies. I could look at their processes. I could systemize those processes, and I could automate those processes and save them time and efficiency. And um, I started getting a lot of requests of, yeah, I love what you're coming in here and you're consulting, but I also want you to build it out. And I was like, I just do the consulting. I'm not an engineer. I can probably support an engineering team, but I'm basically the consultant. I don't build stuff myself. They said, well, sure, you can deal with that. Get a team and build it out for us. And okay. And that's where Advancy really starts flourishing. I have to hire a staff, an engineering team, to be able to support me to build out these solutions that I'm consulting on. And so it started as a project. Okay, fine. I'm just going to consult. No, they want me to take on the whole project. I need to hire a team to help me build out these solutions, and then it transformed into a staff augmentation, or I facilitate teams. So I started building obviously a lot of small teams. So my team of 5 became a team of 10, became a team of 15, became a team, and now I had 4 or 5 squad teams. And how do you retain this talent that everybody wants? So everybody wants engineers. They're very difficult to source. How do you keep them engaged? And I started really getting a good knack at detecting talent, developing talent, and keeping them happy, engaged, and delivering consistent products. Well, then the natural thing is, oh, I see that your team is really good and their velocity is really good and they really deliver well. Can we hire them? And I said, I guess, sure, yeah. So you want to hire this whole team to not only do the project that I consulted on, but now your projects that are internal? Yes. Can we do that? That's where staff augmentation comes in. And I said, okay, sure. And that's really what we do right now is we've got about 40% of our workload that comes in as projects from things that we consult and solutions that we develop for the client. And then the other 60% is really just the client having their own backlog of things that need to get done and saying, I need a team of 5 to help me get this done. I need a team of 10 to help me get this done. And I actually patented that process to develop people and keep them engaged actually is something that I eventually designed, developed, and patented, um, and is now owned by the company.
Very nice. Very nice. Very impressive. Very impressive. So, how do you, I guess the question is, how do you navigate the communication aspect of things, right? Because these are teams that are plugged in. And I guess for those individuals that are listening that own businesses, one of the things that most businesses struggle with is the communication piece and making sure that if they're in the servicing industry, that that engagement is there, not just between the internal staff, but with the clients as well. So how do you maneuver that and teach your team to create not only to sustain the engagement internally, but to sustain that engagement with the client?
Yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention is um, I started sourcing in the talent locally in the US and in areas of need like the San Fernando Valley. Um, and the resources were always getting poached by Facebook and NASA and like these big guys that I mean, I was a team of 25 at that time. I can't compete with NASA coming and offering you a job, right? So I would have to start over from scratch. Um, and so that's where the company in Morocco pops up, and then the company in Mexico pops up. I said, you know what? There has to be talent that is really just waiting for an opportunity to work with a phenomenal company and increase their portfolio. Why can't they be in other areas that I know? So it's self-driven is where I'm getting at. A lot of the resources that we hire are resources that are really happy to get the opportunity to organizations and they're cross-functional. So they're not just thinking, oh, I'm just an engineer and my job begins at 8 and ends at 5. They really are like vested because they're so happy to have the opportunity to work with these companies and build these solutions and have these things in their profile. So they actually, if they see an issue, they actually bring it up themselves. They're very proactive because they
Mm-hmm.
feel vested in the
Yeah.
solution that they're building. They feel vested in the client's success because they're just so happy to be able to work with these clients, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to have that opportunity. So that
Right.
really, really helps that they really see it just as a job. They see it as a calling and an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Right, right. This it's
So
just been, something I've learned is that when people is happy doing what they love, but they're also treated right, and they are extremely grateful, and they are dedicated because, like you said, sometimes they come from places that they wouldn't have the opportunity that they have today, and they're not doing this just for them, but also for their families, right? Because there is that, just like you grew up, they might be in the same situation where they want to change the narrative for their own family, for themselves. So I think you hit it right on the nail, where you said, it is self-driven. we can only do so much, but most of it comes from within.
Yeah, actually, I consider Advancio a social entrepreneur company because we have a mission, and our mission is mission to 10,000, which is we want to touch 10,000 lives. So that's 10,000 people in the community that we want to help. So we actually have a sister company, which is called WeCanCode, that enables hackathons, and they're really vested in not just the day to day, but they're vested in this community change and this impact that we're trying to cause for not only ourselves and our families but also the communities around us. And yes, there's a huge element of self drive because they really feel engaged and they're very grateful, as you just mentioned, for the opportunity to be able to help and support these companies. But then also the clients that hire us, they hire us because we're a social entrepreneur company, because we're offering that opportunity. So they also have a vested interest in our success, and they're also very proactive at telling us feedback. Hey, you missed this, you did that. Um, so they rally kind of both the client and the resources, the talent. They really rally around this idea that they want to help.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, who, or not who, but where are we today? And where do we see Josie and Advancio in the next few years?
All right. So we're at about 300 headcount right now. We've got three locations. As I mentioned, we're going to stay pretty close to Morocco to serve the Africa market. So talent, to develop talent and give opportunities to individuals in Africa. Mexico for the Latin American market, and US for all the um, areas like San Fernando Valley that are maybe needing some additional support there. And that's where the talent is going to be sourced. The type of clients that we serve are Fortune 500 companies. So what do we want in the future in 4 or 5 years? To continue to be able to deal with these clients and give them superior service and continue to give access to these opportunities to um, these wonderful talents that are around the world. My goal, my dream would be to someday retire with my kids, but with thousands of lives being affected, and being given the opportunity to just showcase their talents and work for NASA and Elon Musk and all that stuff. And if they could kind of help us along the way, then that would be great.
That's pretty amazing. And I love that you are focusing in less privileged, areas too. Just it's like having a balance because you are really focusing here in the US as well. But I loved, I've been here, I've heard a lot about the Philippines and, and Colombia and Nicaragua, but I've never heard of someone focusing in Morocco and Africa or no, so that's pretty amazing. And that's, I think, the more of you that pop up with like kind of like the same idea of giving others an opportunity for growth, and an opportunity for advancement and an opportunity for just change the narrative of their past. I think that's pretty amazing while they learn, while they educate themselves, while their work. So I think that's pretty cool, very admirable.
Yeah, if I could just add just one thing, I feel like in the last 5 years or so, there's been a reckoning, at least in my life, where uh, there was a lot of imposter syndrome where it's like, wait a minute, do I really know what I'm doing? Should
Yeah,
I want to be everything to everyone. I wanted to
yeah.
have companies in India and in other areas. And I really focused and I said, wait a minute, what are we really good at? And that's where we said, you know what, these are our two geographic locations that we dominate. We dominate really well. We know the talent, we know,
Yeah.
all the logistics around it. Let's try to focus on that. And Josie, yes, you do know what you're doing. Just embrace
Yeah.
your weirdness, lean into the fact that you are Latin, the fact that you did come from modest means. Don't be shy about it. This gives you a certain perspective that no one else has, and kind of lean into it. And to all those females in tech, that because we do experience a lot of
Mhm.
imposter syndrome. We're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
do I belong here? Should I be here?
Yeah.
yes, you do, and that's why you're there, and lean into it, you know?
I love it. I love it. I love it. So what I know this question kind of ties in on what you said, but I always ask if there is a message that you can provide a woman to empower themselves in the area that you're in, what will you tell them today?
Um, yeah, just embrace who you are, accept yourself, be kind to yourself. Um, Again, just if you did come from modest means, this is who you are. It's part of how you came to be. If you're a little bit abrupt or kind of focused and results driven, that's what's gotten you this far. Don't lean away from it. Keep on going there, because that is another thing that uh, there is a gender dynamic where females are very kind of driven and proactive. They're looked at a little differently than if men would. So obviously there's a learning curve and you learn to navigate towards that, but stay true to who you has gotten you to where you are right now, and kind of double down on that, I guess. Double down on that. Double down on your weirdness. Don't shy down from it. It's gotten you this far. Just stay at it.
I love it. I love it. Now, I cannot stop. I keep going like this and I keep going like this because you have a book that actually changed my life in the way that I manage, and it's traction, and I see it right behind you. So,
Yes.
so
EOS, yeah.
I don't want to impose, but I think it's a statement that it's a good read. So if you are a business owner or you're trying to get an operation up and running, you really have to read that book. What did you learn from it? Like two things, because we can go another whole hour
Yeah,
talking about
so
just the
I
book.
mean, you touched a very like a touching point, because 5 years ago we hit the ceiling. We basically
Yeah,
couldn't grow. We had gone, we were just not going up. And I said there's a lot of other entrepreneurs that have attempted to do what I'm attempting to do. There has to be a framework out there that doesn't let me reinvent the wheel all over again and kind of go through all
yeah,
of these ups and downs. So we researched scaling up. I researched traction. There was a couple of different frameworks that I looked at. We settled on traction, the
yeah,
entrepreneurial operating system. And the first book I read actually was Get a Grip.
yeah,
So I would say for entrepreneurs, that would probably be a very good start. The Get a Grip, and then the Rocket Fuel would be the next one. And
rocket
traction
fuel
is
too.
really like your Bible. That's like your
Yeah,
your playbook. That's where
yeah,
you go back to it.
yeah.
And delegate to elevate is one thing that I literally I talk about daily. Hey, are you over capacity? Delegate to elevate. Let it go.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and letting go of the vine. So those are my two
yes,
kind of
yes. I love it. I
delegate to
love it.
elevate, let go of the
I
vine.
I needed a little extra, so they made me read Radical Candor. So we did
Mhm.
the EOS for like a couple of years, and I'm so grateful we did because it was life changing. And there is, like you said, there is no better tool than the Delegate and Elevate tool. I always like, is it something that you love doing, or this is some, like when I go back to like those words.
Mhm.
What are you doing it because you know how to do it, or because you have to do it, so
Yeah.
it's just questioning all those little things every
And it's
single
not
every single
static,
time.
Monica.
Yeah,
I've done the delegate to elevate like 4 times this year, because the
yeah,
functions of my seat keep on running and they keep on
yeah,
changing. So
yeah,
it's like it's a tool that you can go back to and you can go back to. And for those of you that don't know traction, they actually give you a very long list of tools. So
yes,
they give you the playbook and they give you a lot of tools. So now it's going to
yeah.
sound like it's an infomercial for EOS,
It's not,
but
it's not, it's not. But it is important to people, for people listening, to understand, like you said, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are really tools out there that can certainly help, and it's not made for everybody. Everyone uses different styles and different things, and you can learn a little bit from all different kinds of systems out there to in order to operate better. But I just saw it, and we have that in common, and I just had to talk about it. So I just wanted to.
well,
this
as
is
an
not a paid.
entrepreneur,
This is
you
not a
know,
paid commercial.
I guess that would be going back to your old question. As an entrepreneur, you have to stay on top of it, whether it's reading a book, YouTube, reading articles. You
Yeah,
constantly have to be looking at everything that's out there. And this is all just tools that you have to fight
yeah,
with your arsenal because there's sharks out there. It's not easy
yeah.
being an entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. So, Josie, thank you so much for being here today, for opening up, sharing your journey. I think, it takes a lot of courage to do what you have done. And I cannot wait, to see, you help that 10,000. So, almost there, you will just say, do we still have a little bit to go?
We're about 60% there. So we're there.
Okay.
And I've told my team, I said, is it safe to put up the ceiling a little more? Can we go up to 100,000 if we hit it before we're supposed to? My team right now is reluctantly saying yes, but I'm sure that they'll sign on for it.
That's amazing. Well, 10,000 lives, 10,000 souls, bigger difference in the world. You don't have to help everybody, but at least if you focus on making that difference, that's enough, right? And then, not only you have done your part in this earth, but you can also, facilitate others to do the same based on examples. So I really appreciate you being a vessel of change and bringing a little bit of joy and a little bit of opportunity to those that are less fortunate and that need someone like you in order to see that there is more to life than just what they have been used to. So I appreciate
Appreciate
you
that.
being here.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for the invitation. And thanks, everyone, for listening.
All right, have a great night.
You too. Have a good one. Bye bye.